The Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, is a regional grouping that promotes economic, political, and security cooperation among its 10 members. ASEAN countries have a total population of 650 million and a combined GDP of 2.8 trillion. Founded in 1967 by Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand, ASEAN should not be confused with security cooperation arrangements such as NATO, single market agreements such as Mercosur, or political agreements such as the European Union. ASEAN certainly has ambitions in all of these areas, but has come up with a unique decision-making process known as the ASEAN Way. ASEAN members stress the need for both group consensus and individual sovereignty. Unlike the EU, which has a political, legal, and regulatory systems that override some of the sovereignty of its members. With changing political sensibilities at the end of the Cold War, ASEAN expanded, and by the new millennium, its members included Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, and Cambodia. In what was seen as a step toward greater legalization, ASEAN members launched the ASEAN Charter in 2008. This formally established ASEAN as a legal entity and set up a number of new organs and legal frameworks. However, top principles of the Charter still included consultation and consensus, as well as stressed the respect of each member's sovereignty. ASEAN has a level of diversity not usually seen in other regional partnerships. Many ASEAN nations have a diversity of languages internally, let alone as a bloc. Politically, ASEAN includes 3 constitutional monarchies, 2 communist states, 3 republics, a sultanate, and a former military junta. Economically, countries range from Singapore with a GDP per capita of 65,000 USD to Myanmar with 1,400. ASEAN nations also vary considerably in size, with Indonesia having a population of 267 million and a GDP of over 1 trillion USD, and Brunei having a population of less than 450,000 and a GDP of only 14 billion USD. Despite these differences, or perhaps because of them, ASEAN is set up as a consensus organization, with every member having veto power, and has the official motto of one vision, one identity, one community. Whether ASEAN and the ASEAN Way is successful is a matter of great debate. In the realm of security, ASEAN has succeeded in establishing peace treaties, and interstate war has not occurred between its members. However, in the admittedly limited number of times that armed conflict has occurred, members have turned to the UN Security Council or the International Court of Justice to arbitrate disputes, demonstrating members' lack of faith in ASEAN's ability to mediate. Economically, ASEAN has had great success with free trade agreements. The ASEAN Free Trade Agreement was signed in 1992. This free trade agreement includes a common effective preferential tariff, allowing ASEAN to negotiate as a bloc and secure trade agreements with 6 major partners, such as Australia, Japan, and China. ASEAN has been relatively successful at integrating their economies, but it's planned to have a single market that allows the free flow of goods, services, skilled labor, and capital by the end of 2015 is still unmet. Politically, the ASEAN Way has allowed countries to have a forum and opportunities for deeper discussions. ASEAN has also played a leading role in the greater region, establishing the ASEAN Plus 3 Forum, which includes China, Japan, and South Korea. Critics of the ASEAN Way point to the weakness of relying on the need for consensus, and ASEAN has been unable to have a united stance on issues such as territorial disputes in the South China Sea and China's growing activity in the region. Critics further say that major powers such as China or the US need simply sway one ASEAN member to block any progress ASEAN may make. ASEAN has set a new model for a low level of legalization in a regional arrangement. Whether this arrangement is the product of its environment or a novel way to organize, whether the ASEAN Way is what has made Southeast Asia successful or is what is hampering the region, is for you to decide.